Welcome back, and we are back with Senator Rand Paul after getting an update from Secretary Pete Hegseth and General Kane there. Let me bring back the senator here to talk more about where we are in this war. And Senator, thanks very much for your flexibility. Before we went to that press conference, you said that it's obviously typical and regular order to have any war decisions begin in Congress. Now, you've heard an update. Pete Hegseth, just after honoring our fallen heroes, he said today is the most intense day. Today we'll have the most strikes, most fighters. He's been giving regular updates. Do you feel that this has been sufficient? Have you heard what you need to hear in terms of the goals and the reasons for this war in Iran?
Well, first of all, my sympathies do go out to the fallen. One of the soldiers this week was from Kentucky. Many of the soldiers transit through Kentucky, through our military bases, and that is our first concern, is for their safety and well-being. As far as the reasons for the war, there have been many different reasons floated, but none of them, I think, have been very convincing. One reason is that we want to free the Iranian people from oppression. I have a great deal of sympathy. I want people to be free around the world, but if our foreign policy is to free oppressed people, I'm not sure where war would end. I mean, there are many people that are said to be oppressed in China, Tibet, the Uyghurs, North Korea, Russia. Where would war end if our goal is to free oppressed people? So I think that goal is too grandiose and would perpetually tie us up in war. Another statement has been made, well, they're a week away from a nuclear weapon. You can take clips from the 90s all the way through the present of people arguing that they're a week away from nuclear weapons. Then there were arguments made where their ballistic missiles are almost able to reach the U.S. But then our intelligence countered that and said, really, they would be 6 months to a year if they made that attempt. We were also told their nuclear weapons were obliterated, and now we're told their nuclear weapons are just moments away from being a bomb. So I guess I don't think the arguments are valid, and I think war should be the last resort, not the first resort. A war of choice is not my choice.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, these are such heavy subjects in terms of the potential for a nuclear bomb for a terrorist nation, the largest or the biggest supporter of terrorist proxies that we've seen. Should we really take that risk?
Well, nobody wants them to have a nuclear weapon, but we were told their nuclear stockpile was obliterated. Right. Their program was completely destroyed 6 months ago, and now we're told maybe it's being resurrected and rejuvenated. So I think it's unclear what the actual truth of that is. Either it was obliterated or they're on the heels of doing it. But we know the arguments that they are moments away from a nuclear weapon have been used repeatedly for decades now. These are not new arguments. And so the question is, what are the limiting rules of engagement? When will we stop having war in the Middle East? Right. I really admired President Trump's rhetoric in both 2016, 2020, and 2024 against being involved in Middle East wars. My fear is that we get drug into a long process here and that chaos results. The order doesn't come from this. Chaos. Most of the wars we've been involved in the Middle East have led to chaos, not more stability.
So what would have been, in your view, the proper response to a rogue nation repeatedly threatening Israel, repeatedly threatening the United States with phrases like death to America while they are building nuclear armament?
Yeah, I think no evidence that a nuclear weapon is being built or close to being built. They were enriching uranium, and they've been willing to negotiate over that for a long time. Now, there's a question of whether or not you can trust them, and most of your enemies you can trust only so far. But there were legitimate negotiations going on. There wasn't a resistance, actually, to negotiation. The negotiations in Oman actually were progressing, and there was a sign that Iran sensed their weakness and that this was an opportune time to obtain a negotiated settlement. Most people don't believe that one of the things that's being said now is that we are going for unconditional surrender. That's what we went for with Japan. And of course, Japan had attacked us. We lost 400,000 soldiers in World War II. And so we fought that to a conclusion of unconditional surrender. But it required 2 nuclear weapons. Are people prepared to have nuclear weapons demolish 1 or 2 cities in Iran to get to unconditional surrender? surrender.
Yeah.
The other principle we have to ask is, can a country be liberated if they don't fight for their own liberty? You know, there are many Iranians in exile saying, we've got to send American troops in there. And I wonder why they aren't there. I wonder why they aren't there fighting for their country. But liberty can't be won by other people. Liberty ultimately is won by the people who live there.
Of course.
And so I hope they will rise up. I hope they rise up. But I don't want to see American soldiers on the ground in Iran.
Well, to be clear, the president said it's not part of the plan. American soldiers on the ground, and it has been.
But he said he's not taking it off the table
and I'm
either.
not surprised at that. How could you expect the commander-in-chief to take anything off the table to show your hand to the enemy? But look, we are where we are. We're in this war, day 11. Let me get your take on what to do now, because the Pentagon needs money, and they are looking at a potential supplemental defense spending package. You have been very focused on debt. We've got $38 trillion in debt, but military analysts are estimating this war is costing $1 billion a day. The president wants a $1.5 trillion budget deficit. He wants a defense budget in 2027 of $1.5 trillion. The highest cost of this war has largely been about weapons. Tomahawk missiles already cost $2.2 million each. Will you support a $50 billion defense supplemental package?
Well, the greatest threat to our national security currently and for some time now has been our debt. So while the Iranians might someday, decades from now, decide to be able to attack continental U.S., they aren't a threat to the continental U.S., but the debt is a threat. And we're not talking about $50 billion. If you're talking about a $1.5 trillion military budget, you're talking about an increase in $500 billion. Well, we've probably blown through $50 billion already. And so
well, I'm talking about
not
a specific supplemental package, which is going to be $50 billion. But you're right, the $500 billion is adding to the defense budget, which is now just under $1 trillion. The president wants it to be $1.5 trillion for 2027. I'm talking about a separate defense package supplemental, which would be $50
so then
billion.
we're talking about a $500 billion increase plus a $50 billion.
Right.
So we're talking about a $550 billion increase. I think that's devastating to our country. We can't withstand it. Our interest payment is larger than our military budget now. And so I don't want to weaken our country further. I think we've gotten overextended. This is our second war in a month. And these wars are very, very expensive, not only in the lives that are lost, but also in treasure. And so, no, I'm very, very concerned about the debt. It's been my #1 focus for some time now.
I know it has.
And $500 billion to the military budget is fiscally irresponsible.
Fiscally irresponsible in the face of China on the march, China undermining the United States at every turn, Russia continuing its assault on Ukraine, Iran, North Korea. So when you look at the world that we are faced with in terms of the reality that we're in, you still won't budge on increasing money for the military in this changing backdrop.
Well, to put it into perspective, we currently spend more on our military than the next 10 countries combined. So while there are threats we face around the world, and while we should combat and check China around the world, we spend, 4 times more than they do. But we spend more than the next 10 countries combined. So our military budget is not inadequate. It is enormous. But to increase it by 50% in one fell swoop, to add another $50 billion, this is the debate that we will have. War's not free. It's not free in terms of lives, but it's also not free in terms of dollars.
Well,
we are swimming in a sea of debt, and this debt will be, we're not in danger of foreign soldiers coming to the United States. We are in danger of the debt that the military-industrial complex is incurring on us. We are in danger that that debt will drag us down.
Senator, your colleague Lindsey Graham says it's not the time to talk about money right now because we need to defeat the enemy, but that's besides the point. I've got to ask you about another issue here, and that is the SAVE Act. The president says he's not going to sign any other bills into law until the Save America Act is on his desk. Will you support voter ID legislation and proof of citizenship to vote?
Yes, I'm a co-sponsor of the bill. I do support the bill. I can't see how anybody could oppose showing a photo ID to vote. In our state, you not only have to show a photo ID, you got to show up in person. Virtually everyone in Kentucky shows up in person to vote. We vote on paper ballots. So we've actually largely fixed the problem. There are many states that still could fix the problem, but I will support the SAVE Act. But I think we should also push states to do it. One Republican state that mails all the ballots out and really doesn't even require a photo ID is Utah. Why don't we start with Utah, with a Republican state like Utah actually fixing their problems? I think would be a good idea. But yes, I do support the SAVE Act.
And real quick, Senator, understanding your principles in terms of the issues that we were just talking about, how worried are you that a split Republican Party will only mean losses in the midterm elections? How are you expecting the midterms to play out? And if you do lose the majority, doesn't that put the GOP behind the 8 ball in terms of getting anything done, in terms of your priorities?
I don't think a split party is the problem. I think high oil prices will be a problem. I think the 2026 elections already, we are behind the 8 ball as far as the electoral process. I think if you add in high gas prices, high oil prices, and if we are still bombing Iran with kinetic action, people don't want to call it war, but if there's still kinetic action that causes oil to be over $100, I think you're going to see a disastrous election.
Wow. All right, Senator, we'll be watching your work, certainly. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Senator Rand Paul on Capitol Hill. We'll be right back.